Our planet, for billions of years, was a world teeming with life, but not as we know it today. The very first life forms were incredibly simple, single-celled organisms floating in the primordial oceans. They had no need for partners or complex rituals. Their method of continuing their existence was beautifully straightforward. They simply split in two. This process, known as asexual reproduction, allowed a single parent to create a perfect copy of itself, a genetic twin. This was a wonderfully efficient way to multiply when conditions were just right, allowing life to spread rapidly through the ancient seas. Imagine a single tiny creature, barely visible, drifting in the warm, nutrient-rich water. When it grew large enough, it would begin to divide its internal contents, creating two identical sets of everything it needed to live. Then its outer wall would pinch in the middle, separating into two new, distinct individuals. Each one was a clone of the original, carrying the exact same blueprint for life. This method ensured that successful traits were passed on directly, without any changes, which was a great advantage in a stable environment where what worked yesterday would also work today. However, this simplicity had a drawback. Because every new organism was an exact copy, there was very little variation. If the environment suddenly changed, perhaps becoming colder or more acidic, the entire population could be at risk. They all shared the same vulnerabilities, and a single threat could wipe them out completely. For life to become more resilient and adaptable, a new way of mixing things up was needed. This set the stage for one of the most significant innovations in the history of life: sexual reproduction. The advent of sexual reproduction was a revolutionary moment. It involved two parents contributing genetic material to create a unique offspring. This mixing of genes created endless new combinations, producing individuals with a wide variety of traits. Some might be slightly better at finding food, while others might be more resistant to disease. This variation was the raw material for evolution, allowing life to experiment and adapt to new challenges and opportunities. It was this incredible invention that paved the way for the magnificent diversity of animal life we see across our world today. As life grew more complex, great multitudes of creatures began to fill the oceans. Among them were the first fish, pioneers with backbones and intricate bodies. They embraced sexual reproduction, but often in a way that seems quite distant and impersonal to us. The female fish would release thousands, sometimes millions of eggs into the water. These tiny, vulnerable spheres of potential life would drift on the currents. The male would then swim nearby, releasing his sperm into the water in a great cloud, hoping that by chance, some of it would find and fertilize the eggs. This is known as external fertilization. This strategy is a numbers game, a grand gamble with life itself. By producing such a vast quantity of eggs, the fish increase the odds that at least a few will survive. The open ocean is a perilous nursery filled with hungry mouths and unpredictable currents. Most of these eggs will be eaten or swept away to places where they cannot develop. It is a seemingly wasteful process, yet for millions of years, it has been successful enough to ensure the continuation of countless fish species, from the smallest minnow to the enormous tuna. The sheer volume of offspring compensates for the high mortality rate. Some fish, however, evolve slightly more personal approaches to give their young a better start. The male seahorse, for instance, offers a remarkable example of paternal care. The female deposits her eggs directly into a special pouch on the male's belly. He then fertilizes them inside his pouch and carries them until they hatch, releasing tiny, fully formed seahorses into the sea. This method of internal fertilization and protection dramatically increases the survival rate of each individual offspring, meaning fewer eggs are needed to begin with. It is a beautiful demonstration of evolution finding a more dedicated path. Amphibians, such as frogs and newts, represent a crucial link between water and land, and their reproductive habits reflect this dual existence. Like many fish, they often return to the water to breed. The female frog lays her eggs, typically in a gelatinous mass, in a pond or stream. The male then clasps onto her back and fertilizes the eggs as they are laid. These eggs hatch into tadpoles, aquatic larvae that breathe through gills. They must undergo a miraculous transformation, a metamorphosis, to develop lungs and legs before they can finally emerge onto land as adults, forever tied to the water where their lives began. The move onto land presented a formidable challenge for reproduction. The open air is dry and unforgiving, a stark contrast to the nurturing aquatic environment where life had flourished. Eggs laid on land would quickly desiccate and perish without the constant presence of water. For animals to truly conquer the continents, a new kind of egg was required. Reptiles such as lizards, snakes, and crocodiles were the masters of this innovation. They evolved the amniotic egg, a self-contained life support system that was one of the most important adaptations in the history of life on Earth. This new type of egg was a marvel of biological engineering. It possessed a tough, leathery or hard shell that provided physical protection and, crucially, prevented the embryo inside from drying out. Within the shell, a series of membranes created a private little pond for the developing young. The amnion surrounded the embryo in a sac of fluid, while other structures managed waste and gas exchange. This private pond meant that reptiles were no longer tethered to water bodies for breeding. They could now venture deep into dry inland habitats, laying their eggs in sandy burrows or nests of rotting vegetation. With the evolution of the amniotic egg, internal fertilization became an absolute necessity. The protective shell is formed around the egg before it is laid, so fertilization must occur inside the female's body beforehand. This led to the evolution of more complex reproductive organs and courtship behaviors. Males had to ensure their sperm reached the female's eggs directly. This more intimate and deliberate method of reproduction marked a significant shift away from the broadcast spawning seen in many fish and amphibians, ensuring a much higher probability of fertilization for each precious, resource-intensive egg. Birds, the descendants of dinosaurs, took the reptilian egg and perfected it. Their eggs have a hard, brittle shell made of calcium carbonate, offering even greater protection. But perhaps their most significant contribution was the evolution of extensive parental care. Most birds do not simply lay their eggs and leave. They build intricate nests and practice incubation, using their own body heat to keep the eggs at the perfect temperature for development. After hatching, the parents work tirelessly, feeding and protecting their helpless, featherless chicks until they are strong enough to fend for themselves, a strategy that ensures a high survival rate for their young. The final and perhaps most profound chapter in this evolutionary story belongs to the mammals. This diverse group, to which we ourselves belong, developed a radical new strategy for nurturing their young. Instead of laying eggs that develop outside the body, the vast majority of mammals retain the fertilized egg within the mother. The embryo develops inside a specialized organ, the uterus, where it is protected from the outside world and nourished directly from the mother's own body through a remarkable structure called the placenta. This is internal development, and it offers the ultimate form of parental protection. This method allows the young to grow to a much more advanced stage before being born. A newborn foal or wildebeest, for example, can stand and run within hours of birth, a vital skill for avoiding predators on the open plains. For the entire gestation period, the developing baby is kept at a constant warm temperature, safe from predators and environmental extremes. The mother's body provides a continuous supply of nutrients and oxygen, ensuring optimal growth. This investment is immense, but it dramatically increases the chances of each offspring surviving to adulthood. Of course, not all mammals follow this exact blueprint. The marsupials, such as kangaroos and koalas in Australia, showcase a fascinating intermediate step. They give birth to a very tiny, underdeveloped baby, sometimes no bigger than a jelly bean. This little joey must then embark on a perilous journey, crawling through its mother's fur to the safety of her pouch. Once inside, it latches onto a teat and completes its development in this warm, protective pocket. It is a unique combination of internal and external development, a testament to the different evolutionary paths life can take. After birth, the mammalian story of care continues. Mothers produce milk, a nutrient-rich food perfectly designed for their infants. This period of nursing not only provides sustenance, but also strengthens the bond between mother and child, a period during which the young can learn vital survival skills by observing their parents. From the simple act of a cell splitting in two to the complex and nurturing bond between a mother mammal and her young, the evolution of reproduction is a story of increasing investment and care. Understanding this journey helps us appreciate the incredible ingenuity of nature and the deep connections that link all life on Earth.